of your nature. Come home to You Know More with Dr. Valerie Simonsen on KAKU 88.5 FM, the voice of Maui, broadcasting from Akaku Maui Community Media Center in downtown Kahului. Aloha, everyone. Welcome to the nature of your nature. And it's true. You know more. And today I have a special friend in my life that's going to be our special guest. And I'm going to start off with, I met Elaine Blasi when many years ago working with children, the keiki on Maui, and I'm going to have her tell more. But now, guess what I get to do? I get to introduce her as Dr. Elaine Blasi, PhD in humanistic psychology.
Yeah.
Hey, welcome, Elaine.
Well, welcome, Doc Val. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. We go
way back. 30 years, I think, Valerie.
Don't say that. Well, actually.
We were 10.
When we were 10, that's right. And we always had different color hair, but now we have the same color hair.
Yeah.
Right?
We had the same hair, different color.
Yeah,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, Elaine, just tell us a little bit. Is it okay if I just call you Elaine, or would you like Doctor?
I would prefer you call me Elaine.
But you are a doctor.
Yes,
and
I am.
We just really want to honor that because
Thank you.
That's a whole story in itself,
It
which
is.
we're going to get to.
Okay.
But you started here on Maui, and you were working with...
We moved here in 89, and I opened Montessori Halio Keiki on the south side. And we opened with early childhood, so 3 to 6 year olds.
Wow.
And then 3 years later, opened the lower elementary, which were the 6 to 9 year olds. And then 2 years after that, upper elementary. So then we had the 9 through 12 year olds. And then about 5 years after that, the middle school. So before I left the school, I was with the school for 18 years. And before I left the school, we had 3 through 15 year olds. And the distinction I'm most proud of was we were the very first school in the country to be accredited by both WASC and AMS, which is the American Montessori Society.
Okay. And Elaine and I, we met, I don't remember how we met, but I remember you calling me one time and you said, I have a special one here.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't want to put him in a box.
Mm-hmm.
And I certainly don't want that diagnosis to go, can you see him? And that was really a turning point about us working together.
Yeah.
Worked with a lot of students.
Yes.
And so thank you for that, because I think I told you this. I saw that person a couple years ago, and they're an adult, and that shaped his life.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for that.
It was a team effort.
It was. There was no boxes. He was free to be who he was. Incredibly sensitive child with great gifts. And man, they're doing some good stuff these days. So yay for you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So, Elaine, you did all of that, 18 years here on Maui, down in Kihei. And then you decided to go to California.
Well, what I did first was I took a couple of years and I went back to school to get another teaching credential, this time for the adolescents.
Oh.
A Montessori teaching credential. My intent was to open a Montessori high school here on Maui.
Remember that.
And we did open for 1 year, but the funding failed because it was a nonprofit. It was not a public school. And at that point, I actually was recruited to open a Montessori public high school in California. So my very patient husband, Charles Hasbrook, said to me, yeah, let's go. That's what you need to do. You need to do that. And we went, and we were only meant to stay for about 4 years to establish the school, but wound up staying for 11 years because the school merged with another public Montessori school. So then we had a school from 1st through 12th grade. And again, WASC and AMS accredited. So it was really yummy and fun, and it was especially inspiring to bring Montessori into the public sector. So that was really important for me at the time, still is.
Yeah. I remember during COVID, I called you and because our program here is being sponsored by You Know More, the nonprofit that is dedicated to first responders, healthcare providers, educators, and community leaders. And I called you to say, how can I help these people? And you showed me that these teachers were on the leading wave during that whole COVID thing.
Yes. And of course, in California, we were home for 18 months.
Wow.
And so when you and I were talking later in the day after my workday ended, it was after running a high school, literally, from Zoom.
Wow.
And how incredibly creative the faculty were.
Yeah.
And all of the home visits that we did, especially for our students at risk, and how willing they were to be available to the students in that way. And more than anything, creative with the way in which, not just the way in which they were delivering the curriculum, but the way in which they were supporting the whole family.
Oh, yeah.
So that the students could succeed for 18 months via Zoom.
Yeah. And going back to educators, you know, they're one of the primary resources that we have in the United States, teachers and what they've all done. And I just want to give a shout out to all of you educators.
All of our teachers.
You've done a great job, and we're thank you so much. But I want to come back to, okay, so you did California, you got done riding your surfboard and all of that, being cool, right, with the Beach Boys. Then you decided to retire and went and did something at this fine age, and you did...
Well, it was a bit before I was planning on retiring.
Okay.
So now it was about 10 years ago, I decided to pursue a PhD in psychology. And it's something that I had wanted to do, actually, back in 2000, and looked into the schools that would have either the Jungian psychology or the humanistic psychology or the transpersonal psychology, a lot of different terms, that would have the spiritual aspect to the psychology, not the clinical psychology, although there are spiritual aspects to many clinical psychologists. I had many of them in my cohort group. But I wanted to really look at the whole person, and that's humanistic psychology. So I was accepted into a humanistic program that is specifically for humanistic psychology, based in California, and started at the tail end of my career. I was one of the oldest people in my cohort group, though not the oldest one, to pursue the study of humanity and the psyche of humanity.
Wow.
So it was fun.
Yeah. When you talked about being one of the oldest, when I started medical school, somebody said to me, you know, you're 30-some years old. Do you realize how old you're going to be by the time you get your doctorate? And I said, I know one thing. I'm going to be the same age whether I do it or not. Right? It isn't about age necessarily.
Yeah.
It's about this desire inside that to be able to be of service in the optimal way.
Yes. And a lot of my work up to that point was pushing me in that direction. I was particularly interested, when you asked about the teachers during COVID, in creativity. How are we as humans creative? What sparks it? And then more importantly, what supports it? Ongoing. I mean, everyone is creative every single day.
Of course.
It's called little c creativity, everyday creativity. A very famous writer, Ruth Richards, who actually was one of the retired professors at our school wrote one of the first studies of everyday creativity, and it's just absolutely yummy to read and fun to read. And as I read her work in school, I thought, oh, I always knew that. I kind of knew that. So now how can I make that work? I mean, working with children are, we always say, are naturally creative, but the child within the adult is naturally creative.
Right.
We just have to support that. And creativity, people hear it and they say, oh, painting, cooking, sewing. No, creativity is, how do I problem solve this in a positive way so I grow? Oh. How do I look at a challenge and say, okay, that happened for a reason. Let me see what the reason might have been, and really dig deep.
I need you to back up 2 sentences. I'm doing this because it's going to help me grow.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
This is creativity?
Yes.
Beautiful. I want to just let that land for a minute, right? Because the creativity is the fire. It's the passion.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. And it can be one of the main courses, one of the first courses they require that you take when you're in this kind of a program in a school, in a humanistic psychology school, is creative expression. In other words, how can you use creative expression as therapy?
Oh, nice.
Fabulous course. But then you move from going through sketching and painting and making collages to process whatever feeling that you're having at the moment, usually a not so yummy feeling. and then, you know, we can look at all the absolutely famously creative people in our world and see how many of them came from backgrounds of pain or backgrounds of challenge and what have you, and look what they produced. That is absolutely I think the most valid use of a degree in psychology and creativity. But second to that is, how about the everyday creation of your life? Consciously, in the present moment, creating the next moment in your life. That's creativity.
That takes me back to, I had all kinds of ideas that I wanted to talk to Dr. Elaine
Did
about.
I feed that right to you?
Well, you know, and then yesterday I was walking up to do my laundry, and I was thinking about pizza from
Good thought.
Costco. Organic, gluten-free pizza, and I'm just thinking about that. And the next thing I know, I'm on my face. And I got the owies, you know, my arm and my leg and all of that kind of thing. But I wasn't in the moment.
We're usually not. We're usually in our heads. We're not in our bodies. Or better said, we're not in the body that is talking to the head and the head that is talking to the body.
Right.
You know, we're not integrated.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is what you've pretty much done with your dissertation, right? Is embodied cognition?
Yeah, embodied cognition. It's a neurological term, or neuroscience, I should say, term, that we think best. I'm overly simplifying it, so if there are any neurologists listening to this, I apologize. We think more clearly if we've integrated our full body, all our senses, which then includes being aware of your full environment. Because you are not just sensing. We do have internal senses. And then our external senses are the ones that we use all the time: smelling, seeing, hearing. So you can't use your senses if you're not taking in that environment wholly. So it is a way for us to stay present with everything around us at the moment, and then processing it through our senses using our minds. And so now that's embodied cognition.
Which
hard
brings
to do.
You back to home of self, which is in alignment with you no more. The whole essence of our podcasts are the nature of your nature. Come home to you no more.
Every time you exercise, you practice, I should say, that conscious embodiment, you are coming back home, which is such an interesting contrast. You're coming back home, but you can't come back home unless you incorporate your entire environment.
Right.
Because you're not isolated internally in a padded cell where you don't have to pay attention to anything but your internal feelings.
And I want clear distinction that this isn't about hypervigilance.
No.
This is about awareness.
Just awareness. Not just.
Right.
I didn't mean to simplify it in that way. Staying in the present moment, always.
Staying in the present moment.
That
always.
is hypervigilance, though, because sometimes there are some days, and then just slowing down so that if, in fact, you are finding, yes, doctor, slow down.
Slow down. She's talking to me. Anybody else out there?
So, in other words, there's nothing wrong with thinking of pizza. Then stop at that very moment.
Yeah.
Put the laundry down and say, okay. When I go back inside, first thing I'm going to do is grab that phone. I mean, I praise you for not having the phone with you as you're bringing the laundry basket. Many of us, myself included, would have the phone tucked into the laundry basket as I was bringing it to the laundry. So simplify it to the point that stop and think.
And I didn't have
and
the
feel.
phone. So I was by myself. And I'm laying on the ground, and I realized there's somebody going to eventually show up, but I'll probably be half-baked because it was sunny and, and I was definitely in shock. And I went, okay, you have a choice here. What are you going to do, Valerie? And I went, okay, I'm going to lay here until I don't want to throw up, right? And then I'm going to just roll over, and I'm going to get up, and I'm going to move. And that total self-reliancy, right? And then I got over to the washer, and then I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to lose my cookies, and my head was spinning, and I went, this is not good. I still don't have a phone to call for help.
Yeah.
So I went over and sat on a step and just sit and held my head for I don't know how long until I was aware this is my body. This is where I live. I have tools. I am resourced. Now let's just stay here until we can move.
Yeah.
And face the fear, because I was scared. I was really scared to stand up. I was afraid I might fall over, right? Because of the head. But that time and that trust in my body, that my body knew what to do as long as I breathed. And then that's why one of the reasons we get along so well is we always look deeper, right?
Yeah, the first question is, why did you choose to fall, Dr. Valerie?
Well, and even better than that is I was going to get rid of these shoes that don't support my feet. So, and me and shoes, it's like they got to be really cool, right? But they don't work for my feet. I fall out of my shoes. They're too big, or because I have a really skinny foot. So that's all I was thinking about too, was I need to get these shoes where somebody else can use them, and then I've got to buy shoes that fit my foot.
Yeah, I learned that lesson a little bit before you did. Just a little bit before you did.
Yeah. Yeah. So why did I fall? I wasn't taking care of myself on that level, right? And then also, some people would call that vanity or whatever. I really like cool shoes. And that's one thing I get to let go of.
And then find something else cool that will take the place of them.
Thank you.
Like a cool scarf, a cool hat, cool things that you don't need to walk.
Yeah,
in other words, something that is superfluous. It's not necessary to survive.
And thinking about just shoes, because I'm a shoe person, that's a safety issue. And I hadn't been taking care of myself since the fire, because it's like almost everything got ruined in the fires, helping. So whenever I would see a really pair of cool shoes, I'd just get them. oh, I love that color. Oh,
Yeah.
man, I could add some shoestrings to, I could do beads and all of this kind of stuff. But they didn't fit my foot, which made it unsafe.
Mm-hmm.
Which isn't a new pattern for me to put myself in unsafe
No,
situations.
thank you for saying that,
Yeah.
because I was just going to mention it.
Thank you. Yeah. Well, we don't want to hear that part, right? Yeah. So I want to come back around to creativity.
Okay.
And just from your experience, and you've served so many small children, the adolescents, adults, and you're working with a lot of people as a consultant now, is that right?
Yes, I decided to use this degree, but also my past experience working with nonprofits, especially nonprofit boards, obviously Montessori schools as well, because that's where my love is, to work on the creativity, the innovation of the leadership of the schools. Because, as you mentioned, teachers, educators are on the front lines, and you have to be fast on your feet. You have to be thinking 8 steps ahead of yourself at all times, and that does take creativity and innovation, and it has to be embedded in the leadership, and the leadership would mean everything from boards to the administration. But what people don't remember, I mean, teachers remember all the time, but everyone else doesn't. Teachers are leaders in their classrooms. So they are constantly thinking 8 or 16 steps ahead of tomorrow and are proactive to a fault. And so that is the type of leadership I love doing with both schools, but also all nonprofits. Nonprofits need a lot of support right now. And they always have, they always will.
Yeah, they do. But I'm going to go back to your journey, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
And one of your professors, I assume it was a professor, said, why are you doing all this stuff where really this is where you really shine, right? You said it was a 9-year...
It should take 6 years to do a PhD. It took me 7.
Okay.
In the process, many different people asked me, why are you doing a PhD at the end of your full-time career? And my answer was usually one that completely baffled them, and that was because I want to put all the pieces of myself together and really look at it. And I really felt this program would do that for me. I also had always wanted to do a degree in the psychology of learning, or the psychology of creativity, or the psychology of self, the Jungian psychology of self. And so those were my reasons to pursue this, and also because I felt like I needed to get ready for my third act.
Third act as the
crone. If you think of and I remember you were one of the first people who challenged me when we were not crones yet.
Yes. No, we had dark hair.
Yes,
well,
and we had children who were out of the house but not yet married. We were not grandmothers yet.
Yes, that's right.
I remember you once said, well, the crone, and I remember thinking, I don't know that I'm ever going to talk to this person again, because she used the word crone with me.
Wow.
And then I realized, not immediately thereafter, but as time moved, there was so many yummy pieces to look at, and to be a part of, and to practice. Post-motherhood, so if maiden is the first act and motherhood is the second act, and even I would argue grandmotherhood is part of motherhood, because we do step in and help our children and have yummy relationships with our grandchildren.
Right.
I really would say that the beauty of the crone is it's a time for integration. It's a time then also to share, because mothers, we have so much practice sharing and nurturing and peacemaking and negotiation and mediation, to take that and bring it out to the world, bring it out to people who are not our children and our grandchildren, are not our spouses or our siblings, but are people with whom we've worked for years or with whom we haven't quite worked with yet.
I want to go back to what you said about you did this for yourself. And I remember when I was first learning first aid, that was a long time ago, and the guy, here, Walt Jenkins was his name, he says, you teach what you need to learn. And I've always felt like that. Everybody that would come into my clinic was here to teach me. To teach me about myself, right? And with your PhD now, doing what you're doing with leaders in the world, is that ripple effect can go out, but more importantly, that ripple effect is inside our being.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely. And the people who are teaching me the most are the people in education, but also in other nonprofit fields who are of other generations, who are Gen X, or especially my favorite, the millennials. And I mean that sincerely. I've learned so much from the educators now, Gen Z, the newest crowd to move into the teaching field. It's humbling, and it's so invigorating. Because every generation, we know this, looks at the world a little bit differently because of the way the world is as they grow into it. And so they have a perspective that all of our experience, all of our book knowledge can't possibly replicate. We just can't.
Right.
And I'm all about passing the torch.
I love that. Passing the torch. Went over on the fires. I was probably the most educated 40 years in crisis relief work. And there was a couple days that it was really hard on me because that's not who they were coming to for help, or the powers to be, right, where the money was coming from, which that's a whole nother story. But I woke up one morning and I went, oh, time to pass the torch.
Yeah.
Right? And just for me personally, it basically is believing in these people that are coming up. Some of them were babies when I first knew them here on Maui, and now they're leaders in the community.
As they should be.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you look at the history of humanity and you look at tribes, for example, the crones, or if they are men, the sages, are the wizards, so to speak. They are extremely well respected. They're consulted all the time, but they are not the decision makers. They are behind the scenes. They're the mentors.
Oh, okay.
They are the ones where the chief will say, I just need to go to speak with. I need to consult with. And you look at the anthropological background of that, and you see that as we age, we can be so important in the wonderful, what I call a heterarchy, which is not a hierarchy. It is the circular community where there is someone who makes decisions, because not everyone can make a decision at the same time. It would be complete anarchy. But the person who makes the decision is part of a group, a small group. And then there's another small group, and all of these small cells interact with each other to come to a decision. Within that decision making, there hopefully is some consultation with someone who's been through this before, who has this experience. And they can learn from all the mistakes that person made. They can look at the perspective that that person has, but that person is not the decision maker. And I really feel so, when my experiences in schools especially, too many of us were holding on to the reins of power for too long. And we had this, I think the pandemic shook it out of most of us.
It was a good one. Huh?
Yeah, it really was. And it allowed us to see, especially where technology was concerned, when we needed to pivot, who were the ones who knew how to do that?
Right.
My millennial people.
Yep.
They immediately said, we got this, Elaine.
I know, huh?
And happily, luckily, they taught me how to do it so I at least could function.
Right.
But it allowed. Yeah. And then you move this over here. And then you call us when you have a problem, which I did more often than not. And it was at that moment that I realized I need to rely on them. So, and I had always felt like I was their partner, but then I realized, no, you really are their partner. And that, fueled this whole thought of, let me take this degree and mentor and coach and guide and support. And also, not hold on to the reins, so to speak.
Yeah. Which gives everyone the right to be themselves, right? Remember when I first came to Maui, everyone was asking, what's your specialty? What's your specialty? And I'm like, gosh, I don't know. I do it all, right? And then one day I got it, and I said, my essence was, may everyone have the right to be themselves. That's what was on my business card. May everyone have the right to be themselves. I changed that a little bit. May everyone exercise the right to be themselves. Yeah. And now it's you no more, which is all about being yourself, right?
I always felt that when I first met you, and I first met you actually as a patient. You probably forget that.
Well,
that was about 30 years ago.
That's HIPAA compliant, so we don't talk about that. You can.
I can, because I'm the patient.
There you go.
And I remember you challenging me to take responsibility for my own health, even before you used the words, you know more. And I, being Montessori trained, I had been trained as a teacher to support the children in developing their autonomy, to become independent of us, so that they could realize not only are they responsible for their own actions, they're responsible for their own education. So that's with us guiding them, obviously. So I was primed to work with somebody who said, you need to take responsibility for your own health. Let's talk about, where you're going, why this happened, why are you feeling this? And does that sound familiar? Yeah. And it just rang true with everything I believed as an educator, as part of my life philosophy. So but no one had ever challenged me with our very hierarchical medical system, as we well know. No one had ever challenged me to question the wisdom of the doctor. That which was complicated also by the fact that I was raised by a mother who was herself a pediatric nurse. So her worship of doctor was something that I grew up with. And and to know, wait a minute, that doctor is your partner, because only you know you.
That's right.
And that is what coming home to you is all about as well. We come in alone, we go out alone.
Yeah.
So you might as well know everything about you before you go out to the next level.
Yeah. And we have that opportunity.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
Especially during these times right now. The fires on Maui, it's just like what happened in Yellowstone when it burned the park. The ancient plants came out of the earth because of that heat from the fire, and we saw a whole new forest come in. Same thing has happened here on Maui. People are rising out of the ashes and It's so,
phoenixes.
oh my gosh, yes, and they're doing things. I remember an acupuncturist said to me one day, gosh, I just want to get back to my practice, and I kind of chuckled a little bit, and I said, I don't know that we can ever go back. We are here for a reason. Now let's evolve, right? And man, what they're doing is amazing, and I'm pretty happy where I've been able to bring myself through all of that trauma as well.
Yeah.
But one of the most important things that you've said so far to me anyway is that embodied cognition. Is that...
So you look at, and this is why I find it so interesting with the neurology of it, you look at a baby and you look at how they neurologically develop. And what we do know is that children are, until age 6, and possibly even past age 6, are almost completely concrete. In other words, the frontal lobes aren't even starting to come together to do abstraction. So they figure everything out with their bodies. They use their senses, so it's very sensorial. They use their senses to learn. And it's our job as parents and educators to give them a lot of wonderful sensory experiences so they learn. So that's why parents are told, speak with your children in the home language so that they learn the home language. Let the children cook with you so that they learn the culture through flavors. Just talking at them is not going to make it.
Right.
So we have that from childhood. And then what we do is slowly but surely, in wanting to teach them all the wonderful abstract knowledge that we know they need, we slowly but surely train all of us, train children to move away from their bodies and more into their minds. And I thank our educators who are of all schools, who are working to keep children in a child-centered environment and diversify their lessons so that children do have auditory and visual and kinesthetic experiences, because that's what they need. So they don't lose this embodied cognition. We play to their embodied cognition. But those of us who are older went through a different kind of school system.
Oh, yeah.
And we have pretty much been disconnected from our bodies in terms of learning.
Yeah.
And I don't mean learning in terms of your learning your craft. In fact, in many crafts we are hands-on, which is great. But learning about yourself, learning about your health, learning who you are, learning why it is you feel the way you feel. All of those things happen best to learn those aspects of yourself. You have to get back into your body. You have to get back into those basic 5 senses. What does your environment look like, feel like, smell like, sound like?
Yeah.
What does it taste like? And put it together in such a way that you can then move forward with, all right, I don't like the way this place looks. And that's bothering me. I have to be honest with you. It's disorderly, or it's, and that doesn't mean everyone has to have the same type of order. We all have different order.
Right.
But that to recognize, what is my order? Some people are ridiculously minimalistic.
Yeah.
Because that's how they keep it straight. That's how they keep it comfortable. Others have lots of things pasted all over the wall because they need that stimulation in order to kind of wake up their brains in the morning. And just know yourself well enough to know that's what I need, and then take the time, invest the time, not the money. It's not going to be expensive for you to do these things. Right. Take the time to take care of yourself well enough to say, okay, this is the environment that works for me. Yeah. And that's just one aspect, the visual aspect. And then you have to look at the sound and the feeling, what kind of clothes, the temperature. Yes. Right. And then the smell.
and which is our strongest sense, right?
It's the last scent, right? When we close our eyes to pass
I
over, I believe it's the last thing. Or is it sound? I'm trying to remember. Sound. I think it's sound. Yes, I think it. Now I'll have to another reason to research, Valerie.
That's
there you
right.
go.
We just keep on learning, and maybe we'll remember it, or maybe we won't. When we were talking about the embodiment of cognition, when I was an EMT in rural Montana, I was one of the best.
I'm sure you were.
And somebody asked me one time, how do you do that? How do you go into an accident and take care of these people that have been devastated? Yeah. And I said, it's just another piece of meat. I can do anything. I said, I didn't feel anything. It was just no feeling at all. And that made me really good. And then there was an accident where there were a bunch of little kids in the situation, and I got the drunk driver. And everybody knew I wasn't good with kids because I'd like, oh my gosh, well, that one's not breathing. Let's take care of that one, right, Valerie? But I got the drunk driver, and when I looked at him, he was really hurt badly. I felt it. And I started to kick him. And the police pulled me off. And that was my last run. Because I actually started to feel. And there was this incredible rage that came with it. And that opened up a whole Pandora's box. Oh, my God, what am I feeling here? I could see it, and I could work with it because I didn't have that connection to it, right? Yeah. And then I remember the day in my practice, I had a woman that was actually working on me, body work. She smelt, she tasted, she heard, she had it all. And she was an amazing body working with polarity and all of that. And I went, I want that. Well, then the next day it showed up, because asking ye shall receive, right? It was overwhelming. All of these senses coming at me at the same time. But I think we all have the most comfortable or the most active. So I'm real visual. When I'm with someone, it's like watching a movie. But now I can smell, I can taste, I can hear, I can feel, all of those things. But for every one of you out there, know that you have your ways. And you can tell what they are by how they speak. And if you hear me, you'll say, oh, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Or somebody else would say, yeah, that smells funny.
Yeah.
Or that just doesn't taste right. Or I hear you, right? So when we're in relationships, when we're communicating with other people, is to understand, okay, they're auditory, is that what you call that, Elaine?
Yeah.
And then you talk that language. And when we can.
It's so powerful. It completely changes communications in relationships, and therefore changes relationships. Once when I train new teachers, I always say you have to know who's sitting in front of you. So if you have 24 children in a classroom, you really need to get to know who's sitting in front of you, not just their age and their gender, not even their family background, etc., but more, how do they best learn?
Right.
And for a teacher, it's really important. And one of the things that you have to realize in any relationship is you need to know who that person is. Is that person? I know they have new surveys like, what's your love language?
Right.
All right. Well, I'm all about, how do you best learn? Because then it's going to change the way I speak with you.
Right.
And that is so important.
And when you say speak, it really is about communicating. Communicating, right? I want to bring in something really quick before we end this.
Okay.
And I want to talk about death. But not death necessarily about, okay, I'm not on the planet anymore, but the deaths that we're going through as this world is going through this enormous change. Can you touch bases on that? Death.
Halloween just ended, too.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. Well, philosophically speaking, there's no such thing as death. I think what we have are, I mean, obviously this body at one point will no longer be working, this wonderful spacesuit I was lucky enough to get with all of the great DNA. However, I like to look at it more as transitions.
Transitions rather than death.
So we have a number of transitions. You're talking about the little, that wonderful line from Sondheim's A Little Night Music, every day a little death. That's the one line from a song. And she was talking about getting older. She was a beautiful young woman. And she said, every day a little death. And that's true. Yeah, if you look in the mirror, yes. And if you feel your body. You know. So as we transition, what is going to be exciting about this next transition, this next place? You mentioned something earlier that you said after you had that, I don't mean to change subject, but I don't want to lose this. You said that after you had that experience with the drunk driver and you were pulled off the case, and you said, oh, I want that. I want the acupuncture, the feeling. And it came.
Yeah.
It came because you wanted it with every cell of your body, and you weren't consciously saying, please, please, can I have it? Please, please, can I have it? You surrendered. You just said, gee, that's what I want. And then you let it go. And the moment you let it go, it came to you.
Right.
And it doesn't come to you. I mean, one of my favorite psychologists I ever worked with, who worked on Maui here for a while, Sandy Brewer, used to say, you always get the what of your dreams, Elaine. You don't get the when and the where and the why and the how.
Okay.
And or the who, and that's really important. You don't get to say who's going to deliver it and when and where. And so I look at transitions and I say, what is it being proactive? What is it that I see? What is it that what you were feeling in that instance when you say you saw the acupuncture and the body work and you said, this is what I want? You weren't thinking that as much as that's embodied cognition. You were feeling that. You were looking at it. You were literally feeling it. You could touch it, smelling it. You incorporated in every cell of your being, and then you said, wow, that's what I want. Then it became conscious. And so if we look at what are the wonderful things that we appreciate about our lives, that we would embrace the transition. I love, for example, very simple, I love having gray hair. What's one of the reasons? I happen to like the way it looks, but one of the reasons is that I no longer have to pay to color my hair.
And that's a lot of money when you have that much hair.
And all of the time it takes and what have you. That's a silly reasoning, but it allows you to appreciate, wow, let me embrace this change. Wow. Let me embrace this transition. Not so easy when we're talking about losing a loved one. It has less to do with where they've transitioned to and more to do with you missing them, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Or even something as simple as and I shouldn't say simple, but losing a pet. It was such a rich part of your life. It's not there any longer. So all of those, I don't mean to slight any of those huge losses, such as the loss of a loved one. Right. But I see it as a transition. I choose to see it as a transition.
Yeah. Thank you.
In this place.
And I one of my practices is to recognize on whatever level is coming in, this is outdated. Like the shoes. Going back to my shoes.
Your shoes.
I'm looking at my shoes and I'm like, every time I wear those, my feet hurt. And I can't afford to have sore feet because I have too much to do. But then that part of me that really love those turquoise tennis shoes, I said, that's outdated. We're not going to have sore feet anymore. So there again, took responsibility for myself, right? Yeah. And then took the actions and then, I went to experts that know what are the best shoes for a really skinny foot. We used to be able to buy shoes that way. Maybe you remember
No,
that.
I remember, though I never had a skinny foot, but I remember people who did.
Yeah. And so when you're thinking about it, all of you out there in the audience, is think about if there's something that just doesn't serve you anymore, you just say, we don't do that anymore. Simple as that. We don't do that anymore. And if we do that enough times, guess what? We don't do that anymore. And not that you need to bring something else in, it creates space
for something else to come in.
Which is going to naturally come in.
Yeah, because life abhors a vacuum. So it will step in. You know, one of the things that's important that I don't want to leave without saying, change is uncomfortable. It is sometimes painful. So when people resist change, it's for survival reasons.
Totally.
And for those of us who appear to embrace change, we work at it, you know. And there are those of us who foment change because as a psychologist in my school said once, those of you who foment change is because you want to be in control of whatever change is coming your way. So you're going to make it happen before it can happen to you. I think he was absolutely correct in saying that.
So, Elaine, for those of us that don't know what foment means, help us out there.
Oh, people who push and light the fires for change. Someone who makes change happen.
Okay.
A disruptor is a change maker in a not so positive way.
So
and sometimes there are people who will make change happen because they want to be in control. I never thought of that until I was challenged in that area by this one professor who said, some of you guys make change happen because you don't want somebody else to control the change in your life. But
so with
that
that
be
being
true.
said, and we know there's a lot of things happening right now on the planet. We've got a few minutes left. What can people do? What can this audience right now, what can they take home today about coming home, being the change? Help me out here. Give some tips.
Oh, so many tips.
Give us two.
Two. You are the creator.
You are the creator.
So you're not doing it alone. You're creating with a universal force. You're creating with nature. You're creating with, study the animals. They stay in the present moment.
Right.
They don't, because they can't do metacognition. They don't think about thinking. So that is the big difference between them and us. But they make the change that they need to have in their lives unless they can't. And if they can't, they kind of find another way around it.
That is the key, isn't it? Is to find another way around it. And I've been using since COVID is lay low like water. Wayne Dyer, wrote that whole thing, that book, and that very Taoist, right?
He was.
Yeah. Lay low like water. Water is the feminine. And if you want permanent change or change that is deep, water will give you that, where fire doesn't. Fire will cause change, but it doesn't stay like water, right? So what's the other? You are the creator. What's another tip?
Then follow hard on the heels of that. You're responsible. To me, it's probably the most unsettling knowledge. I don't want to say scary, but unsettling knowledge that you are responsible for every single thing in your life. It may not be, you're not responsible, for example, for the drunk driver hitting your car. I do not mean to say that. But you are responsible for your response to that, how you're going to handle that. And some would argue, and this is a big philosophical discussion, but some would argue that you are a part of the creative force that made that accident happen. So what can you learn from that? So you didn't choose to have a drunk driver hit you.
Right.
But now that it has happened, what can you do with that? What can you learn from that?
Right. What's the teaching?
Yes. What's the lesson? Every single moment is a lesson.
It really is.
Yeah.
And in everything that comes to us too, whether it's a bug or somebody eating out of the garbage can, or everything is here as a teacher for us.
Yeah. Yeah. It's humbling. And so you'll constantly have to remind yourself of that. I have heard this about 3 or 4 times in the last few weeks, and I saw it in your slide deck that you sent me, that we share our DNA with the banana plant.
Yeah.
And so, and all of the cosmic dust that's in every single tree is in us and in the ocean and what have you.
Yeah.
So share it. Realize that the environment is teaching you every single moment to stay in the present moment, breathe, and appreciate.
And stay in this body,
It's the only one you have.
the place you live.
Yes.
On this planet. But the place you live is this thing that we call a body.
It's your spacesuit. My husband likes to call it the spacesuit.
Right, yeah.
And you know, it's the only one you have at this time. You know, depending on your belief system, you know, in this incarnation.
And with that being said, we can change that suit every day through the awareness.
But wear flat shoes.
That are really tied on tight,
Yes.
because of skinny ankles or skinny heels. Embodied cognition, sensorial of the senses. And then, as one of my mentors said, make wise choices.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
We say that to the kids all the time. What could you do differently next time?
Yeah.
That was a poor choice.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is what your choice led to. Would you want to have it differently? Because we all can. And there are a lot of things out there that we can't control, but this is one thing that we do have responsibility for.
Yes.
And have the tools. We're going to end up on that with the nature of your nature. Come home to you no more. Thank you, Dr. Elaine Blasi.
Thank you, Dr. Simonsen.
Coming in here and showing us the way.
It was an honor.
Reminding us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Aloha.
Aloha.